Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Now, Zambia's new president, Hakainde Hichilema, has replaced the country's top military commanders and the head of the police. The president announced new commanders of the Zambian army, the Air Force and the National Service, as well as their deputies, as well as a new inspector general of police. All regional police commissioners have been relieved of their duties, but their replacements have not been named as yet. Hichilema said that the new office bearers must have the interests of the people at heart and ensure human rights. Hichilema, who was voted in as president earlier this month in a landslide victory, has been the victim of police brutality in the past. He's been arrested and detained multiple times in the past and had promised to deal with the heavy-handedness of the security forces. Well, joining us now via Zoom from Lusaka is Channel Africa correspondent Arthur Sikopo to speak to us a little bit about the situation in Zambia. Arthur, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Ulishani.
Peter and Ndiwino Mulishani Naimo.
Ah, great, man. So I suppose it's not unusual, a new head of state putting in new people at the top of the security structures.
Yes, Peter, and thank you so much. It is not unusual for the new president to put up his defense team. And this is what we just saw yesterday, last evening, when President Hakainde Hichilema dropped all those that were in the defense forces, the commanders of the defense forces, and of course, including the Zambia police chief. They were all dropped yesterday and they were replaced. Then President Hichilema also went further to drop all police commissioners in all the 10 provinces of Zambia. Zambia's got 10 provinces and each particular province has got a police commissioner. And in the past, before Hakainde Hichilema took over, all these were being sworn in by the president, but he has promised that these police commissioners from all these provinces shall be appointed by the Inspector General, and of course some changes will be made to the police service. But of course those that have been relieved of their duties, starting with the Zambia Army General, coming to the Zambia National Service Commandant, also the Zambia Air Force chief, all those that were relieved of their duties, most of them have been promised that they will be allocated to other or assigned to other duties. And mostly here in Zambia, what happens is that when a defense chief has been relieved of his duty, mostly they are taken into foreign service. So we are yet to see where they're taken after this action by the president yesterday.
Is this all in a bid to change the culture? Because we see it all too often across the continent where the police end up being vehicles of the head of state in dealing with political opponents and heavy-handedness with citizens that may have dissenting voices.
Yes, for the police, that has been very visible. For the defense, for other defense forces, or for the defense other forces, such as the Zambia Army, the Zambia National Service, the Air Force, mostly they are much influence in terms of political, usually is not even seen, but for the police, I think it's because maybe they are the ones that are on the ground handling law and order. So most of the times we, or people have observed that they mostly speak to the government of that particular day, and of course speak to the political party of that particular day. We have seen Hakainde Hichilema complaining in his campaign trail to this victory. We have seen him complaining against the Inspector General of Police. a few days before the elections, I think 2 or 3 days before the elections, he was blocked in from entering Nakonde town, which is bordering Tanzania. He was blocked, and he had to send messages to Inspector General Kakoma Kanganja, just asking him to allow his officers that side to allow him enter Nakonde and go about with his campaigns. So mostly they are in the front line meeting these political parties or these aspiring political leaders on the ground. So they are much seen to be much in confrontation with the police, as opposed to the Zambia Air Force and the Zambia Army and the National Service. So that usually is what happens. And usually they've been called names. We saw some people protesting, I think a few months before the election, calling the Inspector General of Police then, Kakoma Kanganja, a cadre or a supporter of the governing Patriotic Front. Some of them were calling him a Secretary General of the Patriotic Front, the governing party then. So most of the times, the police are seen to be political than these other defense forces.
How hard will it be to change the mindset? Because just changing the guy at the top is one thing. The people actually doing the enforcing and beating citizens are right at the bottom, at the coalface. And that's where the mindset change needs to happen.
Yes, Peter. Changing the topmost might not have that particular impact. But of course, it has an impact because most of those junior officers receive instructions from these senior officers that have been relieved. Mostly the Inspector General and, of course, the police commissioners are the ones usually that hold that power in the country. If you go to a particular province, the most important or the most respected officer that side in terms of the police is the police commissioner, and who was previously, before this current administration came in, who was being sworn in by the president. So you'd get all these concerns from junior officers to say that we're only implementing what we're being told by the command. And of course, the command is obviously the police commissioner in each particular province, and of course the Inspector General of Police. Of course, they do not mention that. They don't mention particular officers, but they just say the High Command. And of course, people assume that this High Command is the police commissioner and of course the Inspector General of Police. So for them, I think it will be much easier to change and change guard and support the current president, because mostly they work under commands.
What kind of relationship do citizens have with the police? You know, in some countries, there's a difference between a police service and a police force. And there's often fear associated with force. And also, in most countries around the world, the army is rarely visible to the public. But we find more and more on the continent, in some countries, the army almost patrols like police. What's the situation in Zambia?
Well, Peter, as you rightly put it, we saw the army on the ground, especially this election. And this, I think, was from my coverage of election and just from my understanding of what has been happening in the country at the time that I've been looking at things from all angles. This, I think, was the first time I've seen the defense force in terms of the army being deployed to just handle an election, pre and of course during elections. This, I think, is the first time that I've seen that happen. We saw in certain times when the police, of course, were sort of manhandled by political party cadres, and I must mention that those from the today's governing UPND, and of course the then governing Patriotic Front, in the time that the UPND was in opposition, We saw their political party supporters. Here in Zambia, we call them usually party cadres. We saw them, of course, manhandle the police officers. We saw cadres from the Patriotic Front, the governing party then, manhandle police officers. And I think that was one of the reasons which made President Lungu, then incumbent, to bring in the military. But this was an unusual situation, if you may ask me, because we're only used to seeing the police on the streets. We are used to meeting with the police on the streets. We are used to meeting with the police as first-hand law enforcers on the ground. But this election was quite unusual, if you ask me, because we saw the defense forces coming in. We saw the and of course it was a combined operation where we saw the Zambia army, we saw the ZNS also in, and of course a little bit of the Zambia Air Force. So it was quite an unusual situation because Zambians are only used to seeing police officers on the ground.
All right, and perhaps finally, how have the first few days of the Hichilema presidency gone? Is there still a level of optimism in the country? I see he's almost as busy on social media, Twitter, as Donald Trump was.
Yes, Peter. I think, of course, our president, is still enjoying that social media interaction, of course, with the citizens. We see him tweet, we see him post on Facebook. Of course, we know that then there are handlers behind that, but of course, he is involved in obviously in one or two postings online. Then moving to from the time that he took over, Peter, I must say that people have been so much. Most people have been so much happy. As you note, there were over 1 million voters, about 1 million voters, a difference with Edgar Lungu. So a lot of people were happy with Hakainde Hichilema's election, and of course they are still expecting a lot. We have seen people already on media pushing that Hakainde Hichilema fulfills some of the promises that he made. President Hakainde Hichilema promised that when he is sworn in, education will be free. There'll be free education starting from grade 1 to tertiary education. So we've seen some people, opposition leaders coming through. One of them, of course, is one former minister, Mr. Rafael Nakachinda, who has even brought up a campaign called Operation Binoculars. He's saying that he's trying to offer checks and balances on the current government. But of course, some people are saying that it's too early for him to do that. But he's insisting that he has to do that because Hakainde Hichilema and of course the UPND promised. We also have seen Sean Tembo also coming up each and every day. Of course, hammering left, right, and center from whichever hammer from, of course, pushing the current government to act on some of the promises. So people today are expectant that Hakainde Hichilema will perform. Of course, we have seen him only appoint one minister so far because Parliament has not yet started sitting, and that minister is Finance Minister, and he has been appointed because the budget is to be presented. So obviously, somebody has to preside over the budget, and of course, that is the reason why he has appointed that finance minister. We have seen him appoint his press aide this morning, Anthony Bwalia, and of course we saw him appoint those defense chiefs. So those currently are the only appointments that President Hakainde Hichilema has made so far. And of course, people are waiting to see his cabinet. People are waiting to see him on the ground and just start changing things as they voted, according to them.
Arthur, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Your insights in Zambia, greatly appreciated. Zikomo Kwambiri, Shalapo.
Zikomo Kwambiri, and it's good that you're still improving in your Gemba and your Nyanja. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, my brother. All right, that's our correspondent there in Lusaka. It's first days of the presidency and a number of changes already being effected, particularly in top of the military and the police. hoping to sweep in a new era, a new culture within those security forces.